Good morning, boys and girls. You should have math, the colored page 253 in front of you, add and subtract more unlike fractions. And this lesson is for people who were not at school on the last Monday that we met. So what we're doing is adding and subtracting fractions. So we look at this problem and we notice the denominators are not the same. And so therefore we cannot add these fractions. So what we have to do is change one of the denominators so that they're both the same. So we first look at the fractions and decide which denominator is bigger. That's the one that's going to stay just as it is. So we're going to be using 3/6. So you just copy it. They already did for you. And then you also copy a 6 in the other spot because you're going to change 3 to 6. So the next step is to think, what do I do to 3? What do I multiply 3 by to get 6? Well, you would multiply it by 2. So you're going to put a 2 here. Now you also have to write a 2 here because 2 halves makes 1. And remember, the identity property of multiplication is that whenever you multiply a number by 1, the number retains its identity. And so 1/3 is going to maintain its identity. It's just going to be cut into more pieces. So I already have 3 times 2 is 6. Now I need to multiply my numerators. 1 times 2 is 2. And now I can add my numerators. Remember, we only add the numerators, not the denominators. The denominator just stays the same. So 2 plus 3 is 5. All right, let's go down and do number 3 right below it. So we look at the fractions and we notice 12 is a bigger denominator than 3. So that's the one that I'm going to copy over here. And I'm also going to put a 12 right here because I'm going to use 12 for both fractions. And so then I think to myself, what do I multiply 3 by to get 12? Well, 3 times 4 is 12. And then I also write a 4 here because the numerator and denominator have to be the same. So I multiplied 3 by 4 to get 12. So now I'm going to multiply 2 by 4 and I get 8. So now I'm ready. I can add these fractions. 8 plus 4 is 12. And then my denominator stays the same. So I look at that fraction and I think, that looks like an improper fraction. And what would 12/12ths be equal to? It's equal to 1 because the numerator and denominator are the same. Remember, you cannot leave your answer as an improper fraction. All right, so now let's go up here to this one, number 2, and you look at the denominators and you notice 8 is bigger than 2, so 7/8 is the denominator that's going to stay the same. So I'm going to write an 8 here too. And then I think, what do I multiply 2 by to get 8? Well, I would multiply 2 by 4. And then I have to write a 4 in the numerator so that it equals 1. And now I'm going to multiply my numerators because I already have 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. So now I'm ready to add. 7 plus 4 is 11. The denominator stays the same. So I look at that and I think, well, that's an improper fraction. I can't leave it that way. So what I'm going to do is take 1 away from this fraction. And I have to use the same denominator. So my 1 is going to be 8/8. And I do 2 things with this 8/8. One thing I do is I change it to 1. So I'm going to change that 8/8 to 1. The other thing I do is subtract it from 11/8. So 11/8 minus 8/8 is 3/8. Okay, so now we're going to go on to number 4 and we're going to subtract fractions now. And once again, just like with addition, with subtraction, you have to have the same denominator. So 4 and 8 are not the same. I'm going to use 8 as my denominator because it's a bigger denominator. So it's already written over here, but I am going to write my numerator. And they already took care of the other fraction, but I have to think, what do I multiply 4 by to get 8? Well, I multiply 4 times 2. So I have to write a 2 in the numerator. And they already did the multiplying, so now I can subtract. 2 minus 1 is 1. So I get 1/8. All right, so now we're going to go down to number 5. And I look at my denominators. 12 is bigger than 4, so I'm going to write 12. And then I also have to write my 12 down here. Oh, and I should have written the whole fraction. If you're using the same denominator, use the same numerator. So now I look and I think, okay, what do I multiply 4 by to get 12? Well, I multiply 4 by 3. So I have to write a 3 in the numerator as well. So 4 times 3 is 12. Now I'm going to multiply my numerators. 2 times 3 is 6. So now I'm ready to subtract. 11 minus 6 is 5. And the denominator stays the same. So just like with addition, you only subtract the numerators. The denominator stays the same. Okay, and then I have one more problem, number 6. I look at my fractions. I don't have the same denominator. 9 is bigger than 3. So I'm going to use 2/9. I'm going to use ninths. And I copy that fraction. And then I'm going to write a 9 here as well. So what did I do to 3 to get 9? I multiplied it by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So I have to write a 3 here as well. And now I'm going to multiply 3 times 3 again. 3 times 3 is 9. So now I'm going to subtract. 9 minus 2 is 7. And I get 7/9. All right, so now, couldn't really see the answers over there, could you? Now I'm going to have you turn the paper over and do the back. 254. You're only going to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the back. You don't have to do 5 through 8. And make sure you double check, is it addition or subtraction? So go ahead and practice that, and then you're going to look at the next video and you'll be able to see the answers.